All I remember is seeing the leaves of the tree like this and knowing that I was falling.
Lynn Hill is a revolutionary of rock climbing. I'd argue the greatest of all time. She changed the definition of what was possible in 1993, when she was the first person, man or woman, to free climb the nose on El Capitan in Yosemite, the most iconic big wall in the world. Pulling herself over the route summit, she famously turned around and said,
"It goes, boys."
Until 1993, the nose was famous for one reason: its seeming impossibility. After Lynn made the first ascent, it was unrepeated by any other climber for the better part of a decade, and to this day it's only seen 12 free climb ascents. In her backyard, climbing on a homemade replica of the iconic climb, Lynn's stories of near-death experiences,
I don't know how I survived that.
And her personal insights of her incredible achievements,
So I wasn't really willing to give up climbing.
mark a day I'll never forget. Yes! For many years, when asked who my dream guest would be on this channel, there was a name right at the top of my list that I assumed would never be checked off. Until in late September last year, I stood at the doorstep in Boulder, Colorado, of a climber I've looked up to my whole climbing life, spluttering, "Lynn Hill, it's so nice to meet you."
Lynn, show them the route where you have to finish by kissing the Buddha.
You're making it up, dude.
Oh. You should zoom in on that Buddha's face.
Buddha, oh yeah, I like that
What
hold.
is that? Who made the Buddha?
Let's kiss the Buddha.
Yeah, kiss the Buddha. Well, I reckon tickle the Buddha's belly would be nicer.
Tickle his belly.
That's why he's smiling.
Oh,
Ah,
there it is.
that's the route.
That's it.
It's hard to put into perspective Lynn's achievements in climbing. Her ascent of the nose on El Capitan in 1993 was the first time anyone had climbed the route without aid. A classic big wall technique where climbers use equipment to help them scale the wall. Lynn free climbed the nose, meaning that she used equipment to protect her falls, but not to help her ascend. It wasn't just the difficulty of the climb per se that drove her reputation, but rather what the climb stood for. As Alexander Huber put it, this climb passed men's dominance in climbing and left them behind.
Well, I grew up in a different time period where people really didn't regard women as capable as we actually are. So I knew that for my whole life, and that was kind of one of the things that underneath everything was motivating me to say, look, here's proof. Let me show you what is possible if you really want. And it's not just for women, it's for anyone who wants to rise to the level of whatever is important to them. Because the meaning comes from your intention, and my intention was to share something that was of value to other people just by that demonstration. So in a way it was kind of like performance art, but it was through my passion of climbing, and I wasn't really expecting to cash in on it. It was just like something that made me feel good about what I dedicated my life to, and the meaning behind, showing other women that it is possible.
Lynn's achievements, which go well beyond the first ascent of the nose, became launching points for an increase of exposure in women in the climbing industry, which brought a wave of newly inspired female climbers onto the wall. But for any pioneer in sport, pushing the ceiling takes a willingness to fail.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated, I guess, by when there's a project or a goal that is kind of like unprecedented, like it's not been done before, that element of like, is this possible, and investing the time and the effort into that process when you don't know what the outcome could be, but you used to have that belief that it could be done. I always just find so interesting as a process.
Belief was a very important part of this ascent. And also I had nothing to lose because nobody was like, trying to do it and scoop me or anything. It was just kind of something I was trying to do. And if I failed, it would be a glorious failure, or at least a glorious effort, regardless. And so I didn't feel like I had anything to lose. That helps.
Over 30 years later, the nose still only has a handful of free climbing ascents, most recently repeated by British duo Alex Waterhouse and Billy Rydell last year. Asked why the nose is so rarely climbed, they nodded to the climb's most infamous pitch, known as changing corners. The technical moves on this section of wall involve transitioning from one rock angle to another, and are perhaps the most famous moves on rock in the world. In her yard, Lynn showed us how her self-built climbing wall recreates the exact movements that changing corners is best known for. Her attention to detail goes down to the vinyl hold used to imitate the texture of the crucial foothold on the pitch.
How long did it take you to free this like sequence?
Well, on the original year that I did the nose, it took me only 3 days to figure out the whole pitch.
Wow, it's incredible.
Then we walked down, because we went to the top and wrapped down 2 the changing corners, which is pretty close to the top.
Yeah. Okay.
And the changing corners is the crux pitch, correct?
Yes.
Most people think it's the roof, but this is much harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 14A. Trying to stay on something that's hardly even a hold. Like when you're putting your foot out there, for me, at least the way I do it, I can't really see it. I just have to feel it and trust it and start applying pressure as you come in. And then where I'm matched, I go pretty much straight in. I think this should actually be just slightly higher, you know, for the alignment, because it's pretty much straight in. And then I go on just the arete, just not, there's a little bit of a scoop, but just kind of like that. And that helps me turn my body in. So then I'm like this. But this, like I said, is not the real corner. You know, it's something like you're in there like that.
Wow.
Wow. This is like pure.
And then you start
opposition.
lay backing up these little seams, like pin scars. Let me just see if I can do this move again.
Come on, then.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
You're bang on.
You're on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody's going back to Yosemite.
Come on.
I feel like I'm gonna zip right out of that.
Amazing.
So I have to just work at it a little bit.
Up then. Cut to us on the changing corners. We're all scared.
So yeah, you can go ahead and start like this.
Sure.
Oops.
Oop. Yeah, you're on it good.
Come on, then.
I feel like I'm slipping off of this. Yeah, it's kind of slippery.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Now,
Exactly.
now back. Yep. Out, down.
Yeah, can you see?
The problem is it's like, here, I'll guide you.
Look where your
all the way
thighs
over,
are
up, up, up.
your rack.
Oop, there. That's it.
That's what you see. Hold your hands. Come on.
Good. Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm ready for it then. Take me there.
There you go. That's it. Match it up.
I'm
Good.
gonna use this edge. I've got this massive jug now.
Yeah.
I do like this.
Massive.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
It's just fun. It's just,
Talking through her experience on the nose, one of the questions I was eager to ask Lynn was how she coined the famous phrase, "It goes, boys," which I see as an incredibly playful jibe.
in 1993, I'd finished the first reascent of the nose, and I drove from Yosemite to Mammoth, where my friend John Bachar was living, and I was working with Boreal climbing shoes. And he said, "Oh, great, we're going to go back to the nose, and I'll take some pictures of you on the last pitch wearing the Boreal shoes, and we'll make an ad." And so we were just joking around, and the quote came up in our joking around, "It goes, boys." So that became the ad, and that's how it became famous.
Lynn's Ascent of the Nose was of course not just a landmark moment for women, but for all climbers. It reworked the landscape of climbing and shifted attitude towards big wall ascents forever. At the time, it was probably difficult to imagine the knock-on legacy that her ascent might create. So I asked why it was that she set her sights on the nose.
I wanted to do something that represented my values as a climber. So I picked something that included trad climbing, something big, grand, beautiful,
Sure.
and historic. And
Yeah.
that route came to mind when I went to visit John Long in California, because I have family out there, and so I'd stop by and see him, and he's like, "Linny, you should try free climbing the nose." And I'm like, huh, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
So I went up with Hans Floring,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, we should do a speed ascent." So we did a one-day ascent in like 8 hours and 15 minutes it took us.
Right.
But you know, he was the one that was like, "Okay, so we're going to do it in blocks, and I'll lead this, and do whatever you have to do, and then you lead that block." And you know, I was trying to go as fast as I could, being reasonable, because I'm not going to take a 100-foot fall. That's not my game. Which is what happened when Tommy and Alex did. Each of them took a 100-foot fall in their practice to do the nose in less than 2 hours, which is insanely fast. But anyway,
It's insane. It's insanely fast.
Yeah.
So remind me, what year did you free the nose?
in 1993,
93, yeah.
yeah.
And then it was nose in a day the
The following year, yep. And that was a lot harder because you only really get one shot at it, you know, from the ground,
Yeah.
because the crux is all the way at the top. So if you start failing at the top and you can't recover, there's no way you're going to be able to do it in a day.
To take her trailblazing achievements of free climbing the nose one step further, Lynn returned to our Capitan 1 year later in 1994 to reclimb the route in a single day push, which some might regard as the single greatest achievement in climbing.
How wild was that conceptually to go, let's do this in a day? Was that just people just going, no, this is ridiculous? Because typically it was a
I was in my own
Ascent,
world.
right?
Nobody knew what I was doing. There was
Okay.
no internet.
Yeah.
There was no, I mean, there might have been internet, but nobody used it for social media, so nobody really knew what I
But
was
what
doing.
about your own conception? I.e., like you saying, I've done this, I'm going to do it in a day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an endurance athlete, so I figured that if I could just add a huge volume to my training, then that wouldn't feel so hard. And I was also trying to do a bunch of volume and on-site climbing.
Yeah.
So right before I went to the nose, I did Mingus on-site. I was hoping to just do the first free ascent. This is a multi-pitch route in the Verdun.
Okay.
But the Crux is low down, and I ended up doing it on site because that was what I was trying to do, was be, not second guess myself and just go right into the moves that I know how to do, that my body knows how to do.
Uh-huh.
So following my natural intuition.
Sure.
So, well,
And also
for me,
not
it
in
was
the
a
same
logical
way.
extension of the free climbing ethic of working out the moves, then leaking a pitch. But this was a 3,000-foot
Yeah.
route. So that was kind of like pushing it out there even farther.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't think of that at first. I was just asked by somebody who wanted to do a film, would you like to do a film about something? I went, well, maybe we should go and film the nose, but instead of just filming the route that's already been free climbed, let's add an element that makes it more interesting, like
Sure.
free in a day.
Bring it up a
Yeah.
notch.
What really stands out in Lynn's achievements, both in '93 when she first climbed the nose and in '94 when she climbed it in a day, is her willingness to really venture into uncharted territory and to push her own personal limits. In my own climbing journey, I'm kind of making a bit of a transition at the moment from boulder exclusively to sport climber. There's so much more I want to experience in rock climbing, but something that has held me back since the beginning of my climbing journey has been fear. I'm still very much in that process of managing my own fear, and one of the ways I'm going to be doing that over the next few months is with Altitude and Hazel Findlay's new Fear of Falling course. She has teamed up with Altitude, Magnus Mitvo's climbing platform, to bring you a 6-week course that's designed to help you tackle your fear of falling head on. Right now you can head to altitude.com/Hannah and sign up for a free mini training that Hazel and Altitude have put together to dispel a few myths and some faulty training advice around fear of falling. I know that fear is something that has absolutely held me back on my climbing journey, so I'm genuinely really excited for this new course with Hazel and Altitude. I think it's going to help a lot of people, so if you're interested, check out the free mini training and then also maybe sign up for the full 6-week course. I'll see you there. Although her achievements are mostly beyond us, Lynn's love and devotion for rock climbing means she's a kindred spirit for many climbers. She's remained a figurehead in our sport into the 21st century, and she does plan to carry on.
I just want to stay healthy, because for me, at the age of 62, longevity is important. And when you're really pushing the edge, you do risk, like making your finger worse, or something like that. But I feel pretty good. If this is the only lasting injury other than from my fall, which you guys may not know.
Incredibly, one of the most unlikely parts of Lynn's story on the nose was that she was even still alive to attempt it.
So it was 22 meters.
Years earlier, in southern France, she'd suffered a fall so big, it's hard to understand how she survived.
I was there with my partner, and all week long I was threading it at the top, and he would just top rope it, clean the draws, and come down, and I was just being like the rope gun. Well, this time we had a leisurely breakfast, at a place in France, and I just won a brand new car and a bunch of cash, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to go to Leeds to the first competition in the history of the World Cups and everything.
89.
Didn't happen. May 9th, 1989. So we get there, it's in the evening, my partner goes up, leads to the top, he threads it this time. Mm-hmm. No need to do the manipulation. It's a top rope, it's like 5'10", and I have a light jacket on. So I put the rope through my harness, and I was going to tie a bowline, and I went, oh wait, my shoes are over there. So I stopped, and I didn't think the rope would reach. So I went over, got my shoes, and somebody was talking to me the whole time. So I got my shoes, came back to the base, and I thought, oh, should I take my jacket off? Oh no, I don't need to, it's an easy climb. So I left my jacket on, but I didn't see that I didn't finish my knot. And so the end of the rope might have just been right at the edge of my jacket, but nobody noticed. They thought, you know, I'd tied my knot. I thought I'd tied my knot, so I brushed my shoes off, climbed to the top, didn't feel any tension on the rope, but I didn't care, it was just a top rope. Another reason why it didn't fall out of my harness.
Yeah.
And then when I went to come down and I was looking over my shoulder, my partner was talking to that same person. So I decided to pull the other side of the rope to cinch it in for myself, and then he would lower me. That just pulled it right out of my harness because I pulled the other end, right?
That's where your hands were, yeah.
Because the rope was here, it wasn't tied, so I pulled here and it...
And you just went, I cannot even imagine.
70 foot.
Always
So I
check
had
your
to
rope
get back on
grids.
the horse and get over like that fear of leaning back.
If not for a couple of trees and an instinctive grapple to break her fall, Lynn might not have climbed another day.
I don't know how I survived that. These were old, or not, they're old now, but they were young, kind of scrub oak kind of trees that I was trying to look at like where the top of the climb was and how I was able to wrap my arm around it and save myself. So I grabbed the tree branch, because all I remember is seeing the leaves of the tree like this and knowing that I was falling. And so I just made one move like this to get the tree, and I was able to grab the branch, and I landed like between two boulders.
Remarkably, Lynn's physical recovery from her fall was only a matter of weeks. But I was intrigued to hear whether the mental impact of her near-death experience brought a shift in perspective.
Well, first of all, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
We all have to live our best lives. And climbing brings life to me in a way that nothing else does. So I wasn't really willing to give up climbing.
Yeah.
I know there are risks, but right afterwards I was really safe. I was trying to not get injured because I wanted to be climbing, and I had to stop climbing for 6 weeks. And meanwhile, the first World Cup happened, and you know, it was something I wanted to be a part of. So I didn't want to get injured. On top of obviously dying, I didn't want to die, but generally in sport climbing, as long as you do the basics, you're not probably going to die. It's pretty rare that anyone dies sport climbing unless they do something like pilot error, don't tie their knot or get lowered off the end of the rope. That's another one. People don't tie knots on the end of the rope when they're long pitches.
Yeah.
And they're looking at their partner and they're not looking at the end of the rope. So there are basic things that we just need to be like pilots on airplanes. They have a checklist and they go through all of it every time they fly.
Yeah. As we toured Lynn's home wall setup, I consider how easy it was to forget that Lynn's first ascents came at a different time, when the facilities and equipment available to climbers varied wildly to the tools we have today. Her training routine placed less emphasis on finger strength protocols and more on quality time on rock and running.
I ran at like probably 80 or 90% intensity for like an hour.
Wow.
And just like went out and I'm
Rather
just
than
gonna run. I lived in a French house, stone house, and I had roads that were like, there was nobody there. So I just
ran.
So I'd run, and then I eventually built in a vaulted ceiling room of the stone house. I put panels in there and I built a climbing wall, so I'd do 10-minute circuits non-stop.
And the intensity would vary, like going really pumped to recovering.
Yeah, I would try to be on the wall for several minutes, 5, 7, whatever.
Yeah.
Then try to do a hard move, stay on it, and just do whatever I could possibly do to do my 10 minutes.
Wow. And you had a specific circuit
And that's after climbing all day.
after climbing all day. So in Verdun? Or
Wherever. Sayus.
Yeah.
I might try, did you say this pockety one?
Yeah,
Is,
okay, so the holds are
Oh, the pink one.
Yeah.
this. I start out with the foot here. You can use any of these. It's not that bad. You get to the here. I think I used that foot. Maybe I switch to this.
And
then you go up to this.
Yeah, nice.
And then, let's see, you can use that. And then I think I did that to this.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some puccio shoulders here. You've got them.
Yeah.
Whoa, slippy. Okay, but anyway, that's the idea.
Nice.
Okay, I'll try and remember
My
that.
skin has a little bit of that. I put vitamin E oil on my finger.
Come on.
Where am I going?
Adi, yeah. Left foot, right foot. Yeah, now put your left foot in that pocket.
that's right.
Yes, there you go. Now you got it. Now you can easily jump.
Lock those hips in.
Ali,
Stretch them in.
Ali, Ali. Yes.
Yes.
Switch it up again, then you can go to this.
Good grip.
Right
Come
there.
on. Come on.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. You've
Okay.
also got that. You can switch your feet again. You've got this one.
Joggo.
What joke? Which?
Red.
one.
Go
Red.
red. Go red. Good. Yay.
Yes.
Woohoo.
No, this is like that.
And then you could do that and then go again to another red one.
Yellow route.
I don't really have a proper pink one.
You've got a yellow pinch route.
Yeah, the pinch one you can do too. Yeah. That's pink. All yellows. It's not bad. You can go to the pocket. You can just go to the.
It takes both innovation and dedication to push the sport in the direction that Lynn did, and her vision for rock climbing training led her to experiment with hold creation and movement.
Do you shape any of these or not?
Yeah. Let's see.
I quite like this Buddha
This
one.
one is mine.
Yeah.
This one is mine. I made these way before anyone was
these
making
rock?
holds. No, they're Eco Rock. It was Entreprise that made. No, it's actually this one.
Oh, this one.
And I asked him if I could make volumes, and they go, "No, we don't do those." That was before volumes were made.
What about
and
this one?
I wanted to make a stalactite pinch thing, and he said, "Oh
Okay.
no, we don't do
Look at
that.
this one.
That's a rock."
Beauty.
Yeah, somebody gave that to
So
me.
you made this one and what one?
This one, it's got like a little edge.
Yeah, it's really
Oh,
cool.
this one.
I had other ones, but I gave them away. This one's another just crimp.
Yeah, what do you think of the style of climbing nowadays? Did you see it going in?
Like
in
the
that-
Olympics and stuff, and
Yeah,
the
just
World
because
Cup.
obviously, even if you look at the holds that you've shaped on the basis of rock climbing,
Replicating
preparing
rock,
for
yeah.
climbing, and now it's a completely distinctive, separate entity almost, isn't
Yeah,
it?
well, what I do and what I like watching, I do enjoy watching
Yeah,
it
for sure.
because it's really fun to see the dynamic element, and it's sort of like parkour now. You have to be a little bit more, I guess, coordinated and also have a lot of power to do the jumps that are required.
Yeah.
But like the run and jump and all that stuff it's coordination
It's
and
coordination.
timing. Yeah.
Have you ever had
And-
a go at that stuff?
A little bit, but it wasn't really the
But
style.
your son is really into that, right? Like parkour.
He's more into his studies
Tricking.
right now, but yeah, he
okay.
was good at it.
Clearly still motivated to continue pushing the sport forwards, Lynn talked in depth about her ongoing project bolting new routes in her own local state of Colorado, and her partnership with fellow American Sasha DiGuilian as one of her current sources of inspiration.
Well, I realized with this project with Sasha, that was a really motivating force for me in just this last year, because I hadn't really put my sights on anything like that in a long time, and it's been fun, and it's really helped me raise my game a little bit since, I've been distracted by producing that video and various other things. I travel to do speaking and sometimes workshops and different things, so I think it really has to do with who you're climbing with and the objective itself that motivates me, just finding a route that really is beautiful and I like the movements and causes me to, try hard and train.
Lynn's desire to give back to the community was evident, and she spent years compiling her knowledge into a video resource.
I've been a climbing guide and coach for many years. Just being in that position, I like sharing my information with other people, and I do climbing camps, and when I try to explain to people how I'm visualizing the holds and the movement, I was a little frustrated because I didn't have the graphic tools to explain it, and I think if you're trying to explain something on a conscious level, it's easier just to kind of lay it out there like what I've done. So I put graphic elements to show how you hang on to holds, how you push on holds, then the relationship between the holds, usually 3 points of contact unless it's a dynamic move.
Inside, Lynn showed us the level of detail she presented through graphics, including comparisons between many different techniques displayed by professional climbers on the nose itself.
Such as on the changing corners, requires precision footwork and a unique combination of oppositional techniques. This armbar technique, along
armbar
with the
technique
hip
that we
scum
talked
against
about,
the dihedral,
he turns
allows
around
us to
too.
turn around inside the corner. I call this double armbar technique the
There's
Houdini
more,
move.
actually. Your question about is this, geared towards just beginning climbers, or is it more for anyone? I think it's interesting to always look into the mind of somebody else and how they think about something, and maybe a good climber might take one tidbit out of it.
As I sat feeling content and grateful to spend time with one of my idols, it felt only fitting to end with Lynn sharing some of her own inspirations and the stories of her climbing journey.
If you look back on your climbing career, do you have any climbers, I guess coaches didn't exist when you first started making a name for yourself, but do you find that, did you learn more from certain climbers than any others, or did you have a mentor or mentors yourself?
I think that actually when I first went over to Europe, I was living in the Gunks. So first of all, I was in California, learned trad climbing, slab climbing, where you face the rock a lot, you know, jamming and all that stuff. Then I went to the Gunks. That was more overhanging, more into the sport world, but you know, we were using double robes to get gear and all these weird places.
Yeah.
But then when I went to Europe, and it really became a focus on sport climbing, I was able to watch all of my peers at the competitions or on the cliffs. And I remember people making fun of like the French blowing the chalk. But there was a beauty in their whole approach was slow it down and really be precise, and they were very precise, maybe a little too slow. Yeah. And then on the other hand, there was Chris Sharma, who you know, he would just like be scrappy and put his feet where they needed to be, but he wasn't trying to be slow and fast, but he was introducing more dynamic power and jumping. You know, he was the first person that I knew that was really kind of focusing on that style. Yeah. You know, so there was an evolution in different people that were really good. Like Ed Langer was beautiful to watch. Bachar was also pretty beautiful to watch. So he was the first person that I knew that was a full-time climber, because I was like, full-time climbing, how do you do that? Who's going to pay your bills? How do you eat?
Yeah.
And so at that time there were a few Hollywood sort of television shows, like That's Incredible, where I climbed over a hot air balloon in flight, and then Bachar went out to Joshua Tree and did a bunch of soloing. Well, he had a solo circuit of all these things that he could do without a rope. And so there were a few things like that. And then the Survival of the Fittest competition, that brought prize money. And that's how I paid my way through college. And then I didn't use my college because then I got kidnapped by the whole competition circuit thing. And you know, I couldn't say no. It was an opportunity to go over to Europe before internet, before we knew what was going on, you know, in all the different countries. And it was a really fun time to meet people and discover limestone. I didn't even know limestone before I went to Europe.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been honestly an absolute honour to climb with you and see your space and try this wonderful simulation. Yeah. It's been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.